a lot of people came out as trans during the pandemic because they weren't forced to go to work. Suddenly they were at home, cameras off,
Okay.
thinking,
Yeah.
what do I actually want to wear from day to day? And so lots of people came out. And this was like the lightning in a bottle moment. People were trans and they wanted online learning. Suddenly everybody had this bad desire for what I had to offer. So I really think it was like right place, right time situation.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Queerpreneurs Unleashed. I'm your host, Dustyn Baulkham. My pronouns are he, him, and I am currently on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people. And thrilled to welcome Renee today. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. I know we were connected through another guest on the podcast and one of your friends, Dibs. So
That's
Dibs, you've
right.
checked out the intro. Great to get some other fun and different folks because we all have our different circles and it's great. So yeah, let's start off. Let's talk a bit about who Renee is.
Hey, my name is Renee Yoxon. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a gender-affirming voice teacher based in Montreal. And I help transgender people create new speaking voices that bring them safety, comfort, and gender euphoria.
Amazing. And we'll get into the business side of things in a sec, but like to focus a bit more on you personally and talk a bit
Sure.
about your journey and discovering, who you are as an individual and what that kind of looked like.
Well, how much time do we have? Yeah, I mean, I'm 37 years old now, so I feel like I have to think really hard to go all the way back to like where this all started. But I am a non-binary person and I came out as non-binary around 2012, 2013, but it took like a really long time to come out to everyone in my life. It was like a slow process of coming out, which by the way looked totally different from coming out as bisexual, which I came out as at 17. Now I don't know. All the labels are like up in the air a little bit. I kind of prefer gay for myself personally, but that doesn't always communicate that I like men. Like I'm gay for men. Like I'm one course of testosterone away from being a gay man. I don't know.
Okay.
It's complicated.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So that's where I'm at personally.
Amazing. And I know in some of our previous discussions and information shared with me, a question you posed was, why is it important to play with gender expression? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I really would love to see the like transgender movement move towards like this more playful thing. Because right now, when we think about transition, it's like we need to give people access to gender affirming care, which we do. But I also think more people would benefit from just exploring what feels good for them, because like right now, I don't know, I feel like when we are not allowed to explore our gender identity and beyond that, like who we are as people, we feel, I don't want to say jealous, but like when you see somebody else exploring their gender identity, you can feel like, well, why haven't I given myself the same freedom? And I think that's where oppression comes from. It's like a form of jealousy. It's like we're creating the cage that we then live in.
And I feel like younger people today are a lot more fluid in some of those aspects, right? And they've just obviously grown
Well,
up in a different time than us because I turn 39 next month. So, we're kind of in that same generation and how we grew up. So let's say someone's maybe in their 40s. What advice would you give them around exploring gender expression and ways that maybe they can do this if they're just completely unaware?
great question. There are so many ways to like just get started exploring your gender identity that have nothing to do with some of the more serious aspects like hormones and surgeries and things like that. You can get a haircut. Just try a new haircut, get a wig. Doesn't need to be a temporary thing. Try changing your clothes. And of course, I also believe that voice changing can be like another sort of temporary exploratory form of playing with gender because it's as temporary as putting a wig on.
How do people explore like on the voice side of things? Like what does that look like?
Well, yeah, good question. What does like an exploratory process with the voice look like? I think that people don't realize like how much possibility exists with their voice. They're used to speaking in one way, but maybe they haven't tried to like just make silly sounds or imitate like sounds in their world. One of the exercises that I give people is a voice audit. And it's just like checking
Right.
in with all the ways that you currently use your voice. And it starts with really simple stuff like, how do I talk when I'm trying to get someone's attention, or when I'm sad, or when I'm excited? But then you could like branch out into like, what sounds do I make when I'm imitating the trucks outside, or my microwave, or my cat? And suddenly you start to realize like all the different things that you have access to without even trying, that you didn't even realize. And maybe some of them make you feel like, ooh, like this is kind of nice.
I love it. How did you get into this line of work?
So I was a singing teacher for many years, over a decade. I started in
Okay.
about 2010, around then. I have a background first in physics and then in jazz. And I'm like a jazz singer professionally, or I have been in my life. And over the years, I was teaching singing, and I came out as trans, and I decided I kind of only wanted to teach singing to trans people just because it created like a better atmosphere for me personally as a teacher. I didn't
Right.
have to like explain my gender identity to my students. And it was nice. It was like T for T voice teaching. But then through that, I found there was this hole in service provision for people seeking gender affirming speaking voice lessons, which was something I didn't offer at the time. But people reached out to me when I started advertising that I was looking for trans students of singing. And I noticed there was this big hole in service provision, especially in French in Montreal. And so I started learning how to teach that. And the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since.
Love it. It's great. I always it's interesting sometimes hearing people's educational side and how that evolves in life. Like my prior background was in banking, and I feel like most people I worked with there, had some level of degree, but there was a lot of like sciences and whatnot that were there, and then got into banking, got steady income, and are just have been there for life or for a long period of time. So
Mhm.
it's always interesting how one education can lead to something fairly different.
Yes, it is totally wild, and I have the benefit of never having had, like, a regular job, so, most people when they start their business, they, like, have to take the leap and, like, leave their secure job.
Yeah.
I never had to do that. Things have only
Okay.
gotten more secure for me over time.
Well, that's great. I mean, which is a great thing to hear for an entrepreneur, because that's not always the case for a lot of us, right? Is
No.
I know myself, it's very up and down, and I call it a roller coaster ride, just because events, right, is our primary niche, and so cash flow is very up and down in terms of what's going on and all of that. So I'm glad to hear that
Absolutely.
on your end it's becoming more and more secure. That's great. Is
Yeah, I mean,
there
I was a jazz musician before, so things can't really get less secure than than that.
well, especially going into a pandemic when all that kind of stuff got completely shut down, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there many different folks in your fields that do similar work? Like, I
Yeah,
know I've heard of people, but I wasn't sure.
there are a lot of people actually, and I've been meeting them more and more. When I started, there weren't like a ton of people who are doing trans voice teaching from like a non pathology side. So people who identify as teachers and coaches as opposed to like speech language pathologists, which is where the field has traditionally lied, on the speech
Okay.
pathology side. But I have been running a teacher training program for the last 4 years, and now there's like a lot of teachers who are doing this work. And
Okay.
also alongside me, people have grown their businesses as well. So I'm thinking of Claire from Seattle Voice Lab, the Voice Lab in Chicago, Voiced by Kylie here in Canada. And there's like tons of other voice teachers who were coming up sort of at the same time that I was. And then there were obviously people before me as well. But a lot of people are in speech language pathology doing this work.
Okay. So then, what was I going to ask? I lost. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm back. The question from earlier, I was like, I was going to ask it, and I'm like, no, I'll leave that for the podcast. And so we were in joking beforehand, or I, joking, just talking about, you have this great podcast pitch deck. So are doing podcasts kind of part of your business model, or what? I'm curious how that plays in with everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So doing podcasts are a way to increase my search engine optimization. So you probably are aware of this, but when we have good quality backlinks to the website, it
Yeah.
increases our ranking in Google. So about 80% of my traffic comes from people Googling relevant search queries that lead to my website.
Okay.
And so the more people link back to my website, the better that helps my site perform.
Okay. And out of curiosity, like, have you been in quite a few podcasts, or do you know the number off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I would
Okay.
say like in the last year or two, I've done like maybe about 10 probably.
Okay.
Between like
Good.
7 and 10. And some of them
Yeah.
are like more or less relevant to my niche. Some of them are like business podcasts like this one, and other are
Mhm.
more like general trans awareness podcasts. But I love
Yeah,
talking about my work, so it's like fun
of
for
course.
me.
Yeah, I can feel the passion, right? Well, and it's like anyone, any entrepreneur or people that are extremely passionate about what they do love talking about it,
Yeah.
right? So, um, and so let's talk about the progression of your business here, because being the language coach, or sorry, voice coach, and then now you're talking about teaching other teacher, or like, right? You're helping to create other teachers. So
Oh, yeah.
what's that kind of look like?
Good question. Yeah, so I like primarily do my work through online courses, which are pre-recorded and evergreen. So at the moment, I have three like primary signature online courses: one for feminizing, one for masculinizing, and one for non-binary people.
Okay.
And right after I launched my first course, which I have since retired actually, I I realized that there were probably tons of other teachers who want to be doing what I'm doing or do the same pivot from teaching only singing into teaching this other thing. And because there was this huge need for teachers, like I recognize that I'm never going to be the perfect teacher for every student, right? Every student has like different needs and they want
Of course.
people with different backgrounds. And so I thought, gee, I could really help a lot more people if I start teaching people how to teach this. And so I created, this is my only live course that I do. So once a year, I run a
Okay.
live teacher training program. We meet once a week for 5 weeks for about 5 hours, and I lecture, and there's lunch breaks and everything. And then they do an assessment. It's like a whole thing. And I let in a limited number, though. It's about 25 people per cohort.
Okay.
So we've done like, there's been like 80 people who've come through the program all over the world. It's really amazing to meet these people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a lot, the joy of technology these days. And I feel like that was one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, is that technology got better for this type of stuff because, well, we didn't have any other options at that time. So,
Well, let me
yep.
tell you about the pandemic really quick. I really like, obviously it was horrible, but
Mhm.
not only did it facilitate online learning in a way that like created an environment that sustained my business, a
Yeah.
lot of people came out as trans during the pandemic because they weren't forced to go to work. Suddenly they were at home, cameras off,
Okay.
thinking,
Yeah.
what do I actually want to wear from day to day? And so lots of people came out. And this was like the lightning in a bottle moment. People were trans and they wanted online learning. Suddenly everybody had this bad desire for what I had to offer. So I really think it was like right place, right time situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so your initial courses were those were targeted more towards people that were wanting to evolve their voices versus training other teachers, right?
Yeah, so I kind of think of my business as having as mostly being targeted towards people who are trans themselves, students who are
Okay.
seeking like a transition related service to modify their speaking voice. And the teacher training is like 15% of my business.
I see. Okay.
Hmm.
Which is good. I mean, that's some diversity in the income streams and all of that. So, which is always, they talk about business 101, diversity of revenue streams, right? And
Trying.
so, yeah, outside of those two, do you have any other aspects to your business?
Yeah, I also do speaking engagements, which sometimes pay and sometimes don't, but they provide benefit for the organization in different ways.
Hmm.
Some of those are in person, some of them are online. So just this past year, I spoke at the Philadelphia Trans Wellness Conference and at the
Okay.
American Speech and Hearing Association conference, which was a huge speech language pathology conference. And I was on a panel of, it was all SLPs and me, but we were all trans. So it was like an own voices panel. But that was really special because I really felt
Yeah,
like my work was legitimized by being invited to that panel.
totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, because other people obviously see you as an expert in that field, and yeah, I love it. It's
It was
great.
really
It's
cool.
yeah, those pivotal moments, right, in our entrepreneurial journey of yeah, I guess key milestones or whatever you want to refer to them as, but
Yes.
they'll always sit right in your heart, right? Of
This one will for sure.
yeah.
And then also,
Uh,
I'm trying to grow the ad revenue from YouTube, which is something like
mhm.
my YouTube channel now qualifies for ad revenue. It has for a while, but
Oh,
I haven't been
congrats.
focusing on it. Thank you. I haven't been
Yeah, of
focusing on it in terms of growing that, but it would be nice if it was like a substantial source of revenue that could help offset the costs, because
course.
my business model really relies on money from trans people directly, which is not something I want or like about
Okay.
my business model. And I do offer like scholarships to people to offset the costs for trans people who have the need but don't have the financial means. But like
Right.
my dream would be to not take money from trans people at all. That would be
Yeah.
10 on 10. But I'm working towards
Totally.
that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we got into some of the background of this podcast and even like our streaming content. So when we got into the pandemic, we were events, so obviously we couldn't do anything. And so we
Right.
went streaming as many people did. And we actually created a whole dedicated platform at the time called Unicorns Lives. So yeah, like our platform was kind of more like Netflix, except that we also did a lot of live content. But there was communities, we had mobile apps, the website, Apple TV, all that kind of stuff. And we actually
Wow.
just shut that down in September because the revenue never caught up to even just covering the cost of the main software, let alone any of the other stuff. And
Mhm.
then we moved everything over to YouTube. So we've hit the like first level subscriber. Like I think we're a little under 600 now, and it's continually growing. And then now it's getting the watch time up to that 1,000-hour threshold that we need to hit. And so it
Yeah.
grows every day, a little bit now. And yeah, so
At
we'll
least
get
it's
there.
logical. Like, it's not like Instagram where it's like, is this going to grow? I don't know. Like with YouTube,
Yeah,
it's very predictable. If you keep putting in, usually, you
exactly.
get watch hours out. And that's how we grew.
Yeah,
Like, I've been making TikToks for the last 3 years. And at a
right.
certain point in that journey, we just decided, well, let's just upload them to YouTube, double dip. Why not? And
Yeah.
that, like, mysteriously has grown followers. We have, like, I think 6,300 followers on YouTube now.
Nice.
And
It's great.
yeah, like, and we didn't do any extra effort. So now it's nice that, like, since we already qualify for ad revenue and we have like a little audience this month, actually today, we launched our first like long form for YouTube video. And that's going to be the
Okay.
way we make content from now on.
Amazing.
Exciting,
Yeah,
scary.
we've got, I don't know what I'm at. I think 600 or 700 uploads so far on YouTube because we had
Wow.
started it ages ago and we had all this content because we have, I've lost count of how many different series we created over the pandemic. And like we did stuff with the symphony and opera and ballet. Those aren't on YouTube,
Wow.
but and right now I stream every Tuesday night from a local venue. They have a series called Three Little Birds. And so it's three singer songwriters. And so I stream it. I have my three iPhones set up, so multicam. And then all I do is just take off the beginning part after it's aired because it's usually just like the show's about to start for like 5-10 minutes.
Hmm.
So, and then obviously this podcast, the one I talked about, Ella's the Denta, which is Hi, how are you? And her Cascadene language. That's kind of our ongoing new stuff right now. And then we had, what else we had? We had Ella and I did a podcast or series. It was kind of very all over the place, but it was literally called Stupid Shit. And we talked about stupid
Nice.
shit while we did stupid shit. So
Love.
yeah, we might bring that one back. We've talked about it. We just haven't figured out time. And then we also have a series called Cusick, which has been on hold, but likely to come back with a new project I just took on, which is all live music by queer artists.
Amazing.
So we've had lots of fun stuff. And there's a bunch of the old Three Little Birds that was on our old system that still hasn't moved over to YouTube. So there's, I think, another 10 or 15 hours worth of content there to move over. And some of Ella's
My
series,
gosh.
one called Basically Ella, I got 3 seasons, which are about 7 or 8 episodes of 20 minutes each to tweak and then move into YouTube too. So,
Big
but
project.
yeah, but thankfully I have some virtual support. And then using software like Descript obviously can help cut those clips because we try and do 10 per kind of show or episode. And then, like you, we post it to TikTok, Instagram, and then also for YouTube Shorts. So,
You got to
but
be
yeah,
all
it's
over everything,
you do.
unfortunately.
But yeah, but thankfully, AI has helped with some of that. I mean, there's obviously the negative side, but there's also the good side as well that can help entrepreneurs
Mhm.
like us.
Yes.
So, and so, what's been one of your biggest challenges on your entrepreneurship journey?
What has been a big challenge? I think I don't know. Like, I'd have to think about this question because I'm really in the trenches right now with
Yeah,
changing things in my business. So I think the challenge that I'm struggling with at the moment is we're like growing, but the revenue is not growing with us. Like, we are taking on like
right.
more and more. We have bigger ambitions, and like my dream is that I really, and my need is that I could use like a full-time employee to work
Sure.
alongside me. And I have a few part-time contractors, and the business is so young that we haven't even created a payroll system. Like, I'm not on payroll. That's like a 2025 project. But the workload seems to grow and the revenue is not keeping up. And I'm hoping there's just like a bit of a lag there because, things that we're working on should generate more revenue. But I can sort of see the writing on the wall as a business owner. Like, I know things now that I didn't know 3 years ago when I started. And for example, like, my business model relies on continuous growth of new customers, because really we have like one product. Like, there's a one
Yeah.
course per customer. They don't have a
Yeah.
customer journey. There isn't like a lifetime value of customers. They come in, they buy the one course, and then that's it forever. And that's not good, because, as you probably know, it's hard to create new customers, harder than it is to have a
Yeah.
customer become a repeat customer. So, trying to navigate that reality and change, that's it's been it's been a challenge, while also
Yeah.
like seeing what is happening. Like, if we don't make those changes, the revenue will, start
Of
to
course.
come down, and that's a problem. So those are all the things I'm working on. Then there's the whole moral, ethical quandary of like being a trans business owner that I also contend with on a daily basis. There's lots of
In what way?
challenges. Like, I want to run an ethical business, and I like there are certain things that I feel are necessary at this moment that I don't love. Like, for instance, my editor is a trans woman and I have her on contract. At a certain point, it's fine. She wants to be a contractor. She has other jobs.
Yeah.
And also, we're like very good friends, best friends.
Okay,
Like, I
great.
married her to her wife, like,
I
but
love it.
yeah, it's great. But I feel that it is irresponsible to not employ her outright eventually, like, how, like, and I
Okay.
don't know in my mind where the threshold is. Like, how long can you have a contractor before it's like, before you're Uber, you know what I mean? Like, before you're part of the gig economy in a bad way.
Well, and I mean, here's a bit of a different opinion on that
Tell me.
is I look at it as honestly, I think being a contractor is better because you can write off a lot more pieces of your
True.
expenses and you have a lot more flexibility, right?
Mhm.
I honestly like even with this new so I took on the management of a local LGBT lounge in Kelowna here, and it's set up more as a profit sharing agreement, like an operating partner, I guess is what we're calling it. So I'm not on payroll, and which is great because I don't want to be. I find it's a different type of liability and risk, and sure, for some people it's great, it makes sense for them, and if that's your editor's one of those, great, like whatever it makes sense for them. But if they like the contractor model, then I mean, I feel to me it's a win-win because also there's more flexibility because hours ebb and flow, and
True.
but
I just want to
yeah.
have one of those businesses where, like, me and all my employees make the same amount, and we also have an equity sharing, profit sharing model. Like, I just want one of those cool socialist businesses.
Yeah. And I
But
mean,
it's
you
hard to
still
get there.
can.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where
Right.
we're headed.
Yeah. And I mean, it can be employee or it can be contractor, really, for that matter.
You're right.
So yeah, I think there's so many ways to do it. And that's the joys of being entrepreneurs. We can be flexible with that and play with it and you can change it and whatnot. So
There's just so much that I never thought about
yeah.
when I started. Like, when you start running a business, they don't tell you what to do at all, at all.
No. I went to business school and it's still so much
Oh
different
my
because I
god, I
mean
went to jazz school. What the heck do I know?
But I mean, I think a lot of business people also go in and work for other people or work for corporations. So that's I feel like more of where the training is at. So it's like the higher level finances and those kind of pieces versus like how creative you have to think sometimes. I mean, that was a joke I would play during the pandemic is, our provincial health officer would come, I'm like, oh, what do I have to figure out now? Like every time she'd come on the news, it's like, what
Oh
new
my
curveball is she
gosh.
going to throw at us that we need to figure out? So to me, it actually helped me get more creative in how we
Yes,
do that.
I agree.
So
Like, I think I enjoy the creative challenges of running a business. Like,
mhm,
being a musician, there was sort of one type of challenge. And I find that as a
right.
business owner, I have a wide variety of challenges, especially since I have my hand in like every aspect of the business. So
Yeah,
it like tickles different parts of my brain. And I really value that.
sure. And one of the things you said earlier was around the revenue and like it's like one-time customer type things. And then I think and so where my brain went with that is back to a conversation on YouTube, where obviously that can be a more consistent income stream that's not so one-off. And I think that's why we had started with that streaming platform. The whole idea was that consistent subscription revenue. It just never grew enough. I went into a blind of how much work it is to get people to actually subscribe because there's a lot that
Oof.
don't want to subscribe. They want to pay that one-off for that content versus having that monthly or annual fee. So it's an interesting
Well, and
ballgame, that's for
YouTube
sure.
has a culture of free content, which is changing, obviously, as like YouTube released their pro model where it removes
Yep.
ads and stuff. But I think my business has the benefit of being a business first before being a YouTuber. I think it's much harder to like
Right.
be a YouTuber and then pivot to selling products because your audience doesn't want that. They're there for free content, right? But
Yeah.
I like right from the get-go, we're like, we have courses and here they are. Like this is not going to be a
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
So it's
Same.
difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I mean, we have two, like, we have our events stream of income. And then typically during Pride season, I've done a Pride booth at festivals and sold like flags and hats and pins and, all the colorful stuff. I'm not doing festivals this year, but we'll still sell online. And we've been doing that for a couple of years now and kind of fell into that. So those right now are the two primary income sources. And then YouTube is not there yet, but like I say, we'll get there and offset some of that. Because then,
Mhm.
yeah, you can integrate like our Shopify website into YouTube to actually sell
Nice.
directly on there.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't
So you
sell
can,
a physical product, so I
right.
thankfully, so I don't have to
It's a
deal with
whole other
any of
beast.
that. I
Yeah, let
can't
me tell you.
imagine. With the postal strike and everything, holy cow.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? So I kind of gotta be careful what I say here, but um, well, I didn't push it very hard, but with Shopify at least half the time, actually UPS is cheaper than Canada Post,
Oh, interesting. There you go.
depending on where you're going to, and
I
often
believe that.
faster. But it depends. It's so location based and like weight based and size and all of that that
Wow.
sometimes, Canada Post is $1 cheaper to ship it versus, and then they just integrate, I think, Pure later, but there's no discount on those yet.
Hmm.
So there is definitely some perk to using, and I do appreciate that Shopify is a Canadian
Right, Ottawa.
business. So
I'm from
yeah.
Ottawa, so I'm always like,
Oh, yeah, that's
"Yay,
right.
Shopify."
Yeah. What's your primary method for marketing and advertising?
So I have a lead generation model, which is the primary
Mhm.
way that I capture leads. I mean, I like to think that it starts from social media, but when I actually look at the numbers, people are coming from SEO, they're coming from Google. And so when they get to my website, I capture their email address through the gift of a lead generator. So I have a whole library of freebies at the moment. They give their email address in exchange for the freebie, and then they're on my mailing list. And I've been really focusing hard on email marketing in the last year. I went from
Okay.
a once a month model to a once a week model, and the emails got more personal and there was more engagement. And now we're shifting again to making the emails about the weekly video that I'm going to be doing on YouTube. So there's sort of a cross integration model
Of
happening.
course.
But email marketing is how everyone who sells online products makes their money. Like it's just the
Yeah.
most effective way. So everything I do is about getting people onto the mailing list essentially.
Right.
And we're making a big change hopefully soon. We recorded like an hour-long webinar which is like a high value video that people can opt into. And I haven't yet uploaded it to my website, but it's like a project I'm working on now. And I'm hoping for that to be like the centerpiece lead generator.
Okay. Have you dabbled into the SMS side of marketing with campaigns?
I have not. It's something
Okay.
that's on my mind because I use Kajabi as my host for my
Yep.
courses and my website and my email marketing and everything. And I went to their conference last October, I think it was, and they just launched SMS as like the thing that's coming in
Okay.
2025. So I hope to be able to acquire people's phone numbers and stuff to be able to do that, but
Yeah.
it's in the future. We're not worrying about that
No,
now.
that's
And I
fair.
do think that trans people are going to be really apprehensive about their data. Like, and the data privacy for
Yeah,
trans
of
people is like one of my number one priorities. And
course.
another thing on my list of like morals and ethical quandaries that I have.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. That could be successful. It might not be though.
Totally. And I know like I've read a lot of reports and white papers and white reports, whatever the heck they call them, around SMS. And we've done it a bit because I used to be on Klaviyo for emails and then switched to MailChimp. And I think I'm just going to use the Shopify one because what we need is pretty basic in that aspect. And yeah, so I've done it a bit and had some success, but I think it depends on, feel like anytime I've signed up for any kind of like lead gen type, information, they always want your phone number and then Some get like, okay, that's enough. Like you've texted me too many times. But I often give them my VoIP number, not my personal cell.
Yeah, and I think people find SMS a little intrusive, like, when you get
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I don't mind getting someone's email, but when I get their text, I'm like, "Excuse you, stop." So,
Yeah.
it's funny how, like, these 2 things, which that you both look at them on your phone, your email, your SMS, or whatever, they feel completely different from, like, an intimacy perspective. It's weird.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a bit about work within like the community, and if you have any specific focuses on how you give back to the LGBT community, to us LGBT plus community.
Thank you. Yeah. So the way that I've been thinking about giving back is there's a number of things. The first is by making like really high quality free content on YouTube. That was sort of one of the
Mm.
reasons we decided to switch to YouTube from a fully short form TikTok model. We made like 300 TikToks over the last, I don't know, 2, 3 years. It was a bit ridiculous. And I really believed in the content. Like, I believe that a lot of people can get what they need from just the free content that I'm putting out. Like, you don't have to buy one of my courses. If you want it to, you can. If you need more, you can. But some people, if you're a real self starter and you just need a little bit of information, you can totally get what you're looking for from the free information. The problem is, it's not searchable at all. It's not robust. It's impossible to find what you're looking for, even though I like cataloged
Right.
everything on my website dutifully and tried to make it as easy to find what you're looking for as possible. It's just not. But YouTube is where we go for like evergreen info
Yeah.
content. So I was like, this is the way. So I'm hoping that people will really get what they're looking for from these videos. And me and my editor T are like super excited for what's to come.
Amazing.
That's one. And then the next thing
Yeah.
I do is this scholarship program. So I have a program right now where it's like people can opt into giving a little bit to the scholarship fund when they purchase their course. And then sometimes I do like a drive to raise money for the fund. And then
Yeah.
that money is dispersed among people who need subsidies or even free courses. So when people apply, they can tell
Yeah.
me how much subsidy they need or if they need it for free. And then I go in and I kind of do the math and I give people
Right.
the course for free. And
Love
then
it.
I do some community outreach with organizations. So I gave a free workshop with Point of Pride recently. They're like a big organization in the United States. And
Okay.
that's still on YouTube on their website. You can go watch it right now. And I try very hard to work with organizations regularly who either like have the funds to pay me so that their constituents don't have to pay to go to the workshops, or I might volunteer my time if it like makes sense for me and for them. So there's a lot of little things.
Yeah. I think it's great because it doesn't always have to be just donating money or
No.
going and
Well,
volunteering for
thank
something,
God,
right?
because we
Like there's so
can't do
many,
that.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I was, same way I get it. So no, I think it's great. Like I love the variety of ways that you give back and the way that you can give back. Crap, I had a thought when you mentioned
I'm sorry.
TikTok and Evergreen. No, 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 don't. There's nothing to be sorry. I'm just trying to. You know how it is, right? You have a
I
fleeting
do know how
thought,
it is.
and
My brain is
uh,
mashed potatoes at the moment, so it's all good.
I actually had
I
like a
was saying
really good sleep last night, so I'm feeling pretty
okay,
good. But
good.
it's what's that?
I was saying that TikTok is not searchable,
Yeah.
not robust, not to mention they suppressed the heck out of my content since I posted about Gaza.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a clear drop off in the
Oh.
view count. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. So that
Mm.
was another reason we decided to switch to YouTube.
Yeah.
What can you do? Another moral
Okay.
ethical quandary in my
Right.
business.
And I think, yeah. I mean, we can go down a whole rabbit hole of politics moment, but let's not.
Oh boy, we sure could.
Yeah, it's gone. It'll come back to me as soon
All
as we're
right.
probably done the podcast. So I'm going to get into the lightning round shortly, but before I like to, I've recently started adding this question in, and anyway, I'm just going to go with it. Is during your journey, have you had moments where you were ready to give up and just throw in the towel?
No,
Never.
never.
Okay.
Listen, let me tell you where I
Yeah.
started, okay?
Okay.
Like, before this business, I was a jazz musician with
Yeah.
major chronic pain. I really have struggled in my life. You are meeting me at, like, the absolute high point of my life. Everything is
Amazing.
going as good as
Yeah.
it could. I feel amazing. So, no, when I started the business, everything just started to get better for me. I was my physical
Okay.
health, my mental health, everything. So, since the start of this business, it's never been about should I continue? It's just what's next.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Because I find most people have had those moments, and so it's great to hear that you've never had it.
I
So
will say I did give up on being a musician though, but it wasn't like, should I give up? It was like, it's time. Like I don't really have a lot of indecisiveness
okay,
in my personality. Like I
great,
just have a strong gut feeling. Like I know when things are working and I know when they're not working. And so I didn't think like, should I quit being a musician? It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm done. I'm done now. I'm going to
yeah,
do a different thing. It doesn't cause me stress, but I will say I also
good.
have like, I don't know, the gene or something where you don't feel a lot of stress or anxiety. Like my inner,
Okay.
which is a privilege, but my inner
Yeah,
dialogue is like, na 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 na, hey,
that's good. I mean,
it's great.
so many of us need that. So, and what does success look like long term for you? I have a bit of an assumption based on our conversation, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Success for me is sustainability. So if I can make a sustainable income, my employees can make a sustainable income, that would be a success. Another factor of success would be if I didn't have to take money from trans people. So if I could get money some other way, if I could make all my money through speaking engagements and give the course away for free, or if I could license it to libraries, or I don't know what it would look like, but that would be success for me. Or
Um,
find a way to
great.
like have the trans people with money, help the trans people without money in some, I don't know, but sustainability is sort of the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I think in part of that you've already started doing in terms of the scholarship, right? With
Exactly.
allowing people to donate towards it if they can, as much or as little as they're able to or want to.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, there's probably people out there who maybe at one point, took advantage of scholarship programs like that, that then when they get to a different place in their life, they come back and would contribute to something like that because of how it impacted them, right?
That's it. And I do have people ask me the question sometime, like, "Are you worried that people will get your course for free when they actually have money?" And it's like, "No, I'm not worried about that. Like, they can just have it."
Yeah.
Who cares? I would
Well, and
rather
there, I
people
mean,
take advantage of it and have it be available than
true.
have it not be available.
Well, and I was like, karma will come back to bite. If they're just abusing things like that, karma's going to bite them in the ass at some point in the future.
Exactly.
So, yeah, most people are pretty genuine that way, and because people said that to me on a number of things, I'm like, honestly, if someone steals a pin off my table, I don't care. If they
I believe in the
really,
honor system, 100%.
yeah, like if they really need that pin to help them feel complete and they can't afford it, I mean, sure, I'd wish they'd come and ask, and I've done that where there's youth that come to our tent and they're like, "Oh, I'm short like $10." I'm like, "You know what? It's fine. Just let's do that. Let's do what you can." I mean, 9 times out of 10 with markup, you're not losing money on it. You're not making as much, but you're still, you're still making something, and you're actually helping someone that really felt this pull to whatever this particular item was. So
100%.
I
I
try and do
agree.
that as much. So
I love that.
okay, I'm gonna flip to lightning round. So this is literally just this or that. So I'm gonna give you two options and just pick one. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to explain it. Some people like to go on a long story, which this no, we're looking for. It's just
You
first
got
first
it.
thing comes to
Lightning.
mind. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. So dinner at a fancy restaurant or home cooked meal.
Home cooked meal.
Would you rather do multiple short vacations or one long vacation in a year?
One long vacation for sure.
Mexico or Hawaii?
Mexico.
Would you rather go out to watch a movie or go out to watch live music?
A movie.
Okay. Spain or Portugal?
Portugal.
Vancouver or Victoria?
Vancouver. Sorry, Victoria.
Okay. Early riser or like to sleep in?
Early riser. Oh my god. I
I
couldn't
mean,
be
I
more
kind of got that
emphatic about that.
impression, but
Do I give off that
uh,
vibe?
yeah, totally. Would you rather drive somewhere or fly?
Drive.
Okay.
This is
Audiobooks
easy.
or real books?
The audiobooks are real books, but
Okay, fair enough.
I'm an e-reader
Right.
person, so
Okay.
that's what I
Maybe I
choose.
should change that. Reading versus listening to books. Maybe is
Physical
the way.
or audio.
There we go. Okay. There we go. I like it. For your business, do you use debit or credit more?
Credit.
And you work the bank or a credit union?
A bank.
Are you a dog or a cat person or both?
A dog person, but I don't
Yeah.
want any pets.
Fair. Spotify or Apple Music?
Neither. But I do use
No? Nope.
Spotify. I just think they're
Okay.
both evil.
Do you like popcorn?
Yes, so much.
Yes. How about pineapple on a pizza?
Hey, love.
Just a short answer on these next three is favorite type of music,
Hip hop.
favorite time of the year,
Fall.
and favorite place to travel for vacation.
Mexico City.
Okay. And I just have some kind of final thoughts
Strong gut
to
feelings. Can you tell? The gut is
yeah, no,
loud.
it's great. There's no hesitation. I love it. Just right to the point. It matches what you were just saying earlier with your personality. How do you handle work-life balance and self-care as an entrepreneur?
Let me tell you, I have a very regimented routine.
Okay.
I've been doing, do you need a short answer?
Well, I mean, maybe not a 20-minute answer, but
Okay.
you don't have to just get in 20 seconds.
No, I'll tell you. I only work 4
Okay.
days a week, Monday to Thursday,
Okay. Yeah.
and I work about 6 hours a day. I do
Okay.
like 90-minute work blocks with breaks in between, and I do Pomodoro within those 90 minutes. So I'll do 25 minutes, and then when the timer goes, I have to get up, I have to look out the window, I've got to stretch the body. So I'm never, well, with the exception of this week, I've been really off my game, but typically I'm not ever just sitting down like sedentary all day. I'm really moving. But full-time work for me is like 30 hours, 25 hours. I don't do more
Okay.
than that.
Amazing. And what else do you do outside of work?
I run.
Okay.
I run a lot. I watch movies and I read a lot of books. And yeah, I don't know. I
That's
go out with
great.
my friends. I run around
Good.
Montreal.
Yeah. Well, and to your point around sedentary, which I have like a manual standing desk. So typically, whenever I do these podcasts, I always stand, so I'm not like hunched over because I know I have a bad tendency to do that. But then I have to keep my hands off the desk because otherwise, it's
Oh,
like I'm always in an earth kick. So because it's it's higher and top heavy and all that. So yeah. But I bought this desk years ago when IKEA first came out with them, and literally got a hand crank, and so it
nice.
was like cheap at the time. That's really all I could afford, but it works, and I've had it probably 10 years now, and it still works like a hot damn. So, but do you have any other entrepreneurs out there that inspire you?
Yes, lots of entrepreneurs inspire me. Dibs inspires me, or your guest from
Yeah.
before. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's like so many teachers who are creating valuable content and for their students as well, like the teachers who have come through my program. A lot of them inspire me because they all have different focuses and they want to do different things. Like some of them are leading choirs and some of them are focusing more on vagus nerve stuff. And they all inspire me. I can't think of anyone else off the
It's
top of my
okay.
head who's running. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. How about any like favorite podcasts that you listen to?
Gender reveal,
Okay.
really, really good. There's a couple of different gender based podcasts that I really like. What is the name of the other one? Oh my gosh, hold on. I have to tell you because I've been listening to it so much lately. Pardon me. I know this is riveting content for
Oh,
radio.
that's okay.
Gender Spiral with Ali Beardsley and Babette Thomas is one of my faves. Gender Spiral. Gender Reveal is great. I also love more general podcasts like If Books Could Kill and Maintenance Phase and some really popular podcasts like that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. What advice would you give other queer individuals who are aspiring to be an entrepreneur?
I would say reach out to people who have what you want and ask them how they got there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to offer them anything. You could offer to take them out for coffee or something like that, but just have conversations with people because it's what you want is probably not as far out of your reach as you think.
Yeah. And I've read a lot and heard a lot from other entrepreneurs like all over the place that are like when people genuinely reach out to ask a question, like I enjoy that because I get to talk about what I'm passionate about. So most people are generally giving of some time. If you get really in the weeds, they might want, as a more consulting fee, but some basic stuff, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, I've met with people for an hour just for fun because I want to see queer people and trans people like running successful
Yeah,
businesses and making money. I
absolutely.
want trans people to make money in these
Yes.
streets, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun. You get to meet and that's the part that I love the most with this podcast is meeting other rad people like yourself and hearing your journeys. And there's lots of similarities, but tons of differences. And it's also just fun to meet new people that have drive and ambition and have done some cool shit.
I agree completely. It's been
Yeah.
a total pleasure to be here.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you. And how do people find you?
So they can find me at reneeyoxon.com or at Renee Yoxon, ReneeYoxon, on all the platforms, every single one. I'm everywhere.
Beautiful.
You can't escape me. Oh,
That's
and I
how we
also wanted to mention that I'm
yeah,
running that teacher training program again this
great.
year, as I always do, and applications are open on the 20th of January. If they're listening to this
Okay.
before then, or if they're listening to it after the 20th, they're open until the 31st of January. So if anyone
Okay.
is a speech language pathologist or a voice teacher and wants to take this training, get your application in.
Beautiful. I was literally going to ask if you wanted to put more information on that.
You're so
So
sweet. Thank
you
you.
beat me to it. Yeah,
Oh,
I had that in
sorry.
the back of my head. No, no, it's perfect. It's like you just knew where I was going next.
We're just
So
so in sync, Dustyn.
absolutely. This is great. Was there anything else, Renee, that you wanted to talk about today that I never touched on? I really didn't follow my script today. I went with our conversation, which I
With your
loved.
gut. No, this has been great. Thanks so much for so many
Awesome.
thoughtful questions.
Yes, thank you. It was really great to learn more about you and about your business and your community aspect. Yeah, thank you for taking time to chat with us on the podcast today. And maybe someday in the future we'll actually get to meet in person. Who knows?
That'd be great.
Right? Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to an episode of Queerpreneurs Unleashed. We'll see you next time.